All right, friends. Today we have a very special guest. We are hanging out with Amira Alavarez, who is the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman, a global coaching company helping entrepreneurs build empires, as well as athletes, creatives, and rising stars. She works with all sorts of high-powered people in different fields to achieve their dreams and goals in record time. As someone who herself has made the quantum leap from barely making six figures to then making a quantum leap to 700K in a year and then into the seven-figure game, she has lived to tell about it all, and she knows exactly what tactical strategies and mindset shifts are required for us to get out of our own way, live life on our own terms, and master the art of achieving any goal. This is going to be great. Welcome aboard, Amira. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I love that you use the word quantum leap when talking about making a shift from like barely making six figures to then multiple six figures. And I'm curious if that verbiage or that quantum leaping was always part of your vernacular, or where you started to play with this idea of like, quantum leaping. When did that enter your world?
So no, it didn't enter like way back. I read a book called U Squared by Price Pritchett, and he talks about making a quantum leap. And I was like, oh, you can make a quantum leap? Now, I always had that like drive, that desire, like I was someone who wanted more, but I was playing that safe and narrow pathway, like the get good grades, go by the rules, you're going to increase your prices of this amount a little bit at a time, don't ask for too much, just see where you get to.
Be grateful for your Toyota Corolla and your 401k, like that was for me. I'm with you. Yes.
And so I had to wrap my head around the fact that you could do this. And then I started entering the coaching world, right? That was a whole new world. Like I was in business and I had to learn how to run my business. So I started taking the courses and going to the seminars and things like that. And about 5 years into that journey, I went to a particular seminar, and this person who I ended up hiring to be my coach just had story after story after story about people just like me who, and I would describe myself, Hanna, as like, I'm smart, I've got a good product or service, right? Like I'm doing something ethical, I'm a good person, and I'm working really hard, but I'm not getting ahead. And we had example after example after example of clients like this who in very short periods of time, not the like way my mother like talked about like growing a business, right? Like went from here to here. And I was like, I want that.
I want that rocket ship. Yeah.
But to be honest, I was terrified because, part of actually going fast is going fast. And I had to make decisions. This is a key. You wanted strategies. I'm going to give you one right now. Like you have to make quick decisions. And that was just not part of my repertoire back then. A buying
thinker, were you, I got to sleep on it? Were you, I got to take a walk and wait for a sign that this is it?
And I was got to talk to my husband. Okay. Which is actually, I framed it at the time as we make buying decisions together. We make financial decisions together, but in truth, and I'm not against that, by the way, but in truth, if I unpack that from the level of awareness that I'm at now, looking back, I was looking to him to give me permission so that if I fucked up, can I swear on this?
Yeah, we're doing it.
If I didn't execute and get the return on investment of what I was investing in and with, for my business, I wouldn't necessarily be the only one responsible for that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yep. I have become more of that. When I first started and I was going to those seminars, I was like, I'm going, like, come if you want, like, I'm doing this, like, here I am, I'm investing, I'm getting resourceful, I'm doing all of these things. And I have noticed as I get closer to really making leaps, right? Like, really, like, this is going to change the way we live. This is going to change the business model I've been running for 5 years. That's when I do exactly what you're talking about and looking for the permission slip, right? Like, I'm going to talk to my friends about it. How much did they, I get more hesitant because it does start to stretch my belief in myself. And that's what quantum leaping is about, right?
The other thing is, who are you taking advice from? Like, I love my mother. I love he's now my ex-husband. I still love him, but like I love my ex, but they weren't the people who had done what I wanted to do. And so when you're asking your friends, how much do you spend? Have they made the quantum leap yet? Are they still struggling? Are they struggling for time, joy, delight in their life, not just money? Because I have like this holistic perspective. Like, we want to have a delightful life, not just make the money. And so one of the things that I started to do was I started to make decisions from the place I wanted to be,
Yes.
not the place I was right now. And it stretched me, Hannah. It stretched me so much. It was not easy, because where I was like, I can't afford that. That's not for me. Who am I to do that? But if I wanted to be a multiple six-figure, a seven-figure business owner, how does she make decisions? How does she show up? What does she invest in? How does she spend her time? And who does she hire? Like, how quickly does she make decisions, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's so important. And people go, oh yeah to that. But when the rubber meets the road, they don't make decisions from that place.
Yeah.
And you can't quantum leap from the place you are now. You have to put yourself, like, you actually have to put yourself at the place that you want to be. And you can do that in two fundamental ways. One is imagination, right? Like, you play it out at that level, and you start visualizing, visioning, all of that. And there's a particular technique that I teach called play the movie, which we can talk about it. But like, you can imagine yourself from up here and start, but then you have to make the decisions from up here. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So
you have to do both. Like, it's not an easy.
Yeah, all of that has been so true for me, because it's one thing to like do the vision board and like have it there, but then it's one to like make decisions and take action from that, reality that does exist. You're just waiting to step into. So when I was making, I was living in San Francisco. It was like the first year or two of my business. My then boyfriend and I were renting a sunroom, basically, like the extra room in this already tiny apartment. We were sharing it. I was building a business, living, eating, sleeping, doing everything in this little like sunroom place. And I was starting to get to making some more investments, making more hiring decisions. And so we would play this game. We would dreamscape, is what I call it. And I'd be like, he'd come home from teaching middle school, and I'd be like, oh, well, my assistant just called. We have so many clients. We don't even know what to do with it. She's going to take care of, the sales piece. So that'll be great, and we would just play that game of where I was going to be in the business. And he actually was the one that was like, helped me see this when I was making a decision back then. He's like, okay, so I get all the reality stuff and all the worry, but like, what if your assistant was doing the sales just like you were playing? And what if we actually stepped into that? Because I was seeing the disconnect. Like, I had my dreamer and pragmatist trains disconnected, where I was like, yeah, I can like pretend and like dream and like go through the motions, but it wasn't connected to the pragmatist part where I actually let that pull me forward. Does that make sense? You see that maybe in people that you work with, this like, exactly, they're not making decisions, they're not taking actions, even though they say they want to be a millionaire. Nothing that you see in reality tells you that.
So the ways that I help my clients change that, and the way that I change that were, I mean, it's multifold, but the two things that I want to share right now are, I had to change my self-image. So I had to change my identity, who I saw myself as, because my old self-image, which was created under the age of 9, right? Like it gets mapped and programmed in there, right? In your subconscious mind, like was like, you're not enough, you're not worthy of this, you don't deserve this kind of life. And I had a lot of double binds, like you can't be smart and sexy, you can't be smart and wealthy, you can't be part of this family and be wealthy, right?
Yeah.
Like consciously, I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to not worry about whether I bought this or this, right?
Yeah.
But my subconscious was attached to the way my parents did life, which you know, was like, those people over there are bad people because not because they're really bad people, but because we weren't like them, right?
Yeah,
And there
totally.
were a lot of minds that I had to let go of and remap, and like that's a big part of what I teach is this self-image piece. But then the other aspect is I had to learn what I call the universal laws of success. And most people have heard of like the law of attraction, for instance. This is like laws light, okay? It's just that. But like one of the laws is the law of polarity, and it says, you know, if the desire is felt, the supply is ready to appear. There's like everything is created as a whole. There are no halves in the universe. We create halves in mathematics, but that's a figment of our imagination. You cannot see a half of a cup, a half of an elephant. I mean, you could break the cup, but like there's still two sides, there's still there. And so the desire for wealth, right, for making more money is one side of the whole. The actualization of that is here, it's here now, it's in the non-form, and you have to call it in. So if you understand that law, not just on an intellectual basis, but in your body, because you've lived it, and the only way that you can actually live it is if you put it to the test, and most people won't. Okay, I'm gonna call everyone who's listening forward and say most people will be like, oh yeah, I understand that, that's so cool. But when the rubber meets the road, right, they're like, oh yeah, I don't have faith in that. Okay, to make a quantum leap, you actually have to say, I want that. I know that I want that. I know that the law says that if the desire is felt, the supply is ready to appear. That doesn't mean it's going to drop from the sky. Okay. Just so everyone's super, super clear.
Yeah.
But it's ready
to get off my meditation mat, and I have to get out of my own head. You're saying, oh no.
Take action, and you have to be willing to make mistakes and go forward and use the law of cause and effect and figure out what are the causes for the kinds of effects that I need, and how do I take personal responsibility, and what does that look like, and what is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and how do I get at the right vibration, right? Like I had to learn, this is a little bit on the woo side when we talk about laws, right? But I approached it from a very, to use your languaging on this, from a very pragmatic perspective. Like, if this is real,
yeah.
Okay. Like I was like, I'm either going to believe this or not believe this. If I choose to not believe this, I'm on my own. I'm doing this other thing over here. Okay. I'm fine with that. But since I'm entertaining this and I want to believe this, I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to test it out. Not in a test it out from a, I don't have faith in this, I don't really believe it, but I'm going to act as if this is 100% true.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I went from making 138 to 700K in 1 year.
Yeah.
Freaking mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's 5 times like increase in income, same 24 hours in a day that I had before.
Well, exactly, right? There were so many of the same tools. It was just that you were looking at them differently. You were playing with them differently. You were like giving them away probably in different ways. I'm guessing you had to start delegating and start like expanding outside of just like you and the set of tools or strengths that you had to start with. And I love that 1 year, right? Like this is what happens when you go all in. I see this and I hear this all the time, that it's like, you know, manifesting a partner or hitting whatever that goal is. Like when you line it up and you do what Amira's saying here of just like all in, be the poster child of like doing everything that you can, using the laws of the universe, because we like that kind of growth isn't sustainable, but it's also not like just what us down here playing the human game would do, right? You have to tap into some other power, like other laws. Did you feel that along the way?
Yeah, and here's the thing. It wasn't like the story that you guys hear right now is like, okay, tap into the laws, take the action, everything's going to work out perfectly. It didn't, Apes. It didn't. Okay. Like there was like challenge after challenge after challenge. I call it the terror barrier, right? Where you hit that like concrete wall and it feels like incredible fear, incredible shame. Like I can't go forward. This is terrifying, right? I'm going to lose it all. Everyone has their own version of it. Okay. And it comes up for all my clients and you have to move through it, not turn around and go back.
Mm.
And that's the thing that people hear this, right? And they want, oh, I'll just learn the laws and I teach the laws. Okay. I just learn the laws and it's like magic sprinkles, just add water. And guess what? It's challenging, but if you practice it, if you live it, if you apply it, you do get to the other side where now, like, I keep growing the business, and it's not challenging. It's fairly easy.
Normalize that turbulence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always the wave, right? There's always a new challenge, but you're not thrown off, and you don't feel that anxiety and that deep shame and fear that you're gonna screw it.
The deep shame and fear. I think that's really important to like shine a flashlight on. Something I'm affirming every day is I do scary things. Like I can do scary things because when I normalize it and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to run into stuff I've never done today. I might have a hard conversation. Like I'm going to go out and like bust through things that I think is scary, because on the other side, you get to look back just like we're doing in this conversation and be like, it was just a hard conversation. Like, it's like that going through that I think is really important. So what are some of the things, when we're in that turbulent moment, we're making that leap, we're going to a different level. And like you said, for all of us, we can break down or it can feel different ways. So are there common things that you would tell clients or people that you work with, like, okay, here you go. This is exactly what you asked for. This is part of the process. How do we move through the turbulence?
Yeah. So there's a number of different things. One is, you surround yourself with people who get it. Okay. Like my clients have a mastermind, my clients have me, right? Like there's a recalibration that happens. Like everyone's going to be in their spin at some point. But if you're in your spin and you're in an environment where people are like, you said you wanted this, you're going forward, keep going, do not back down. Like you got this in a assertive way and in a loving way, you'll be brought right back to the truth, which is, I do really want this. And I know it's not, if it was easy, everyone would have it. Okay. Right. Like I know that I need to move forward, not backwards. So that's part of it. And then the second thing is to every day really reaffirm the desires that you have. I call them desires, but I also call them goals. Like be super, super clear about what you desire and want, and don't take your eye off the ball. Mm-hmm. I see so often. And for the first many years of running my business, like I would articulate my goals, but I wouldn't keep my eye on them. So I say, keep your eye on, I mean, daily, I mean, multiple times a day, like, because you can be saying, I want to make 10K this month. I want to make 20K this month. I want to make 84K this month, right? Like you can have a number, but if you're not paying attention to that number, like it's going to be the 20th of the month and you're going to be freaking out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or you're going to be caught up in those limiting beliefs of like, well, maybe I didn't really want that. Well, if I have that, then I can't be fun or I can't have free time, right? And then we get into those kind of like limiting beliefs that you talked about at the beginning, that kind of catch 22 of like, well, yeah, I want to be a millionaire, but these other bad things might happen to me. So any tips for shining light on some of those subconscious things that we run up against? Because we're going to get rejected. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to forget to link the webinar, blah, 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 in an email. We're going to do all that gross stuff, right? But what about the things that are like running underneath the surface, right? Like, this means you're a bad person, or you'll never have a good relationship if you hit that money goal. Like, how do we tease that apart when we're going for the next level?
You need to bring truth to it, okay? Spirit, source, infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call the life force that is, calls you forward through desire. Desire is causative. It says, here's your purpose, here's your spiritual DNA. It needs to grow. You have a more life directive, and it's growing along the lines of your desire. So you have to keep in mind, like, if you have this internal turmoil, like, what was the big desire that you have, and go back to that and know that that's the truth, not oh, do I really want that? Like, maybe I should change my annual goal. Maybe I need to go slower, right? All of that is noise. Okay. All of that is noise.
Yeah. And you're so right around having like a mentor and a community that can bring you back to that, because it's amazing. I watched myself. I live in Mexico right now, and there's a great community of like expats and digital nomads and creatives and entrepreneurs. And like, you could be a unicorn and they would be like, that is amazing. I've been looking for a unicorn. I want to show you to all my friends. Right. So that's where I've been living for the year. And then going back to like other environments when we were visiting family this summer, it wasn't like she said this and I thought that, or I had this aha. It was just like, I was thinking in a totally different way. And it like took me energy to like come back to a community that was like, oh wait, like I believe in ease. I believe in joy. I believe in not working 9 to 5. Like, I had to come back to it. So I think what you're up to and like having that community is part of the key. Like, the secret to success, we say surround yourself with people, right? But unless you're like saturated, and that is what you go back to, and you're with people who are going to, like you said, bring you back to that desire, not what the weather. It's like weather, right? Oh, it's rainy today. Maybe we shouldn't be awesome. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that we all just agree on. So tell us a little bit more about your container and how people can dive into this with you. What does it look like these days?
Sure. So the business is called The Unstoppable Woman, and we help women become unstoppable. So to move through that fear, achieve their goals faster than they ever thought possible, and really step into their vision of who they know themselves to be, but haven't yet actualized on, haven't yet done that yet. And we look at primarily your business, so entrepreneurs, and some people who are in corporate that have an entrepreneur mentality, primarily about reaching those financial goals. That's sort of like the strong push. Like, we want you to have an income breakthrough. We want you to quantum leap, but we don't want you to do that in a vacuum and not have a freaking fantastic life. So we look at the whole woman. Okay. And that's been, for me, actually quite a journey, because I didn't really own myself when I started. And so this has been, I learned that it was not separate from, but an and more life, and that's part of what it takes to make a quantum leap. That being said, we have an amazing community of women. Some of them participate in our morning mindset club or our free Facebook group, and that's a great way to sort of access the work that we're doing at no charge. Those are free resources. And you can find those at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And there's a ton of resources there. And then if you're interested in, coaching with us, we have a mastermind and masterclass called The Spirit of Wealth. And that is for the person who really wants that level of community and teaching. I teach the laws, I teach, the mentorship, all of that sort of stuff to really help you break through at a high level.
Unstoppable women, don't stop now. Get over there, access all of that, and really like continue this conversation with Amira. I know you've got like those free things and you have your podcast. I think that this is an energy that you'll definitely want to tap into, whether you're making that first quantum leap to like, I'm going all in, I'm going to make money on my own, or you're taking, you're scaling your business beyond the 6-figure mark. Amira's been there. So thank you for being here and sharing so much with us today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for the great questions.
Yeah, listeners, I'll be back with more great questions and another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life your real life next week.